Oikein hyvää iltapäivää kaikille Lähiradioiden kuuntelijoille ja tervetuloa seuraavan tunnin ajaksi mukaan musiikkiohjelmamme Old, New, Borrowed and Blue pariin. Meillä on täällä tänään kaksi vierasta, yksi kotimainen, yksi alkuperäinen kanadalainen ja ei sen enempää kuin vähempää. Täällä on muusikko, rumpali, legenda Corky Laing ja hänen suomalainen managerinsa Tuija Takala. Pikkuhiljaa siirrymme tästä sitten englannin kieleen, mutta lyhyesti käyn läpi vielä näin suomen kielellä, mitä kaikkea tänään tässä ohjelmassa on meillä lupa odottaa. Eli kuten tuo alkukappale kertoi monille musiikin ystäville, Corky on eniten tunnettu varmasti Mountain-yhtiön rumpalina ja tuo äskeinen aloituskappale oli nimeltään Mississippi Queen ja hänen roolinsa tässä kappaleessa ei ole yhtään sen vähäisempi kuin, että lyriikat ja itse asiassa koko kappaleen syntyminen on hänen tilanteestaan erään keikan yhteydessä, mutta katsotaan jääkö meille siihen tänään aikaa vai meillä on kuitenkin ainoastaan yksi tunti ja tunnin loppuosassa itse asiassa kaikki hyvät kuuntelijat, niin teillä on mahdollisuus voittaa pienimuotoisessa tietovisassa. Siinä on ainoastaan 2 kysymystä ja ne koskevat Corkyn ja hänen positiivista elämäänsä, niin palkintona on hänen tuore kirjansa englanninkielinen Letters to Sarah ja se on yksi meidän puheenaiheestamme tänään ja totta kai myös värikäs historia, jonka Corky on ympäri maailmaa musiikin parissa tehnyt ja käynyt ja tietysti sitten myös palanen tätä päivää, koska meillä on vielä paljon annettavaa niin rockmusiikille kuin toivottavasti tulevaisuudessa myös kirjojen lukijoille. Mutta Corky Laing, welcome to the radio.
Thank you very much, Katosh, and moi moi. And Tivo, I don't know, I'm learning my Finnish, but I was just listening to you, and I believe you were telling me that Tuija and I are going to be paid 5,000 euros for this. Is that what he was saying?
I would never ask you to come here so cheap.
Okay.
You know something about real estate. I know
a little bit.
This kind of money.
I got a great joke. You know, about real estate. Is this a lot? No kidding. Sorry. It's an inside joke, but.
And it doesn't work on radio anyway.
That's right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just heard 2 minutes ago before this program started that we have something in common, but that's something we discuss about next time because
okay, that's good. That's
real
good.
estate in Connecticut and in Helsinki are some similarities for sure, but some differences too.
Tim, a lot of musicians invest in real estate because they don't know anything about the stock market or anything. But if you
when they have 25 cars, they do something.
Yeah, real estate is good because if you're not working, you have a place to stay. You know, so Joni Mitchell started that whole thing way back in California. She was buying houses for her friends to stay, you know, beach houses, and she invested a lot of money in real estate. It's a good investment, okay?
And certainly
now we can move on.
Today it's rock and roll, and welcome Tuija Takala as well.
Thank you.
And for our listeners, I would like to start with, because it's not the first time, Corky, you're in Finland or in Scandinavia.
That's right.
How did this happen, and what besides this charming lady made you to come over and over again to
this charming lady is responsible
country?
for me being here 1,000 times in the last 30 years. First came to I was in Finland way back in the 70s, but it was before Helsinki was the city that it is now. We pulled in at the time Henry Kissinger was having the summit with Vietnam. This goes way back to the 70s. And I remember we pulled in the boat and everything was very gray here. And I remember thinking that's Helsinki. But then I came back. We came back, I guess, in the
2011.
2011, I met Tuija. I came, the whole city's beautiful. It's become a whole different city. It's a beautiful city. And Tuija introduced me to some universities that I guest lectured. You know, I came in to talk about the music business, about, you know, at different universities, Sibelius, Aalto, and a couple of, so I loved doing that. That was, I guess, the initial introduction, because Tuija set me up at these. And then she introduced me to this book that she had written called Playing God, and we started talking, she started about making a musical, and making it a rock opera. And that's how we got involved musically. And from there, Tuija, she's amazing. I know she's here, and I gotta be nice.
I can see that.
Because she's
She's
amazing,
amazing.
yes. You can't see how pretty she is. And she's very smart. She's a PhD. Tuija loves music, and she loves music. And she liked mountain, I guess. And so from there, I was involved with this rock opera called Playing God. And from there, Tuija, she started booking shows in England and stuff. Just, she knew some people. And as a result, I'd be coming back and forth to Finland quite a bit. I love it. I have to show how long I've been here so they don't start looking at me and going, hey, what's going on? You living here? But anyways, in capsule form, I love it here. I love Helsinki. She knows that. I love it. There's a whole, see, I'm from Montreal, so, the cold air doesn't bother me. I don't consider Helsinki to be that cold. Montreal's cold, like in the wintertime. But so on a level of latitude, I see the latitude here is, we're 10 north and 60.
That's the same as Anchorage, Alaska.
It is Anchorage, yeah. That's up there. The point is the vibrations in Helsinki are very similar to the vibrations in Canada, especially Quebec. So the whole vibe is very, very easy to get into. And there's a lot of great musicians here, a lot of great art, and I notice there's a lot of places to play. There are, places to show, and that's good for musicians to have places to play. And one of my favorite, I guess, would be the Gloria Theater, which we had an opportunity to play a few times, right?
Yes.
A few times. So that's how I met Tuija, and since then, Tuija is very aggressive and very productive, and she's keeping me busy. Thank you. Thank you, Tuija, by the way.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much. And,
You're welcome.
That's what we elder gentlemen need, I
yes,
guess.
exactly. Excuse me, let me just fix myself up right here. Go ahead. But yes,
Little elder.
I think I answered that question, Tuija. Did you want to answer it? Say anything about that?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Tuija could probably tell something about the book, because your ideas and visions have been certainly very important, how the book became like,
So
I believe.
I suppose that the initial idea was I wanted to do a proper bio for Corky somewhere on the website, web or somewhere, because there wasn't really, there was a little bit on Wikipedia, there was a couple of little things over here and there, but if you Googled Corky Laing, you couldn't really get proper info on what he's done and what he's been doing. So when I started putting together the bio, I started to realize that, whoa, there's lots more to this than just a couple of lines or a page on the internet, so maybe we could actually write a book about this one. And then we started working on it. Corky would tell me stories, I would type them down, then we would go the text through together and all that. For a long time we wanted it to be somehow different from your average rock and roll bio, and we were toying with different ideas of how to make it different. One of the ideas was to have a sort of a ghost of a Mississippi Queen as the narrator of the whole thing, which would have been different anyway. But then I think it was 2015 or something, when I was at Corky's rehearsal place on Long Island, and I found this box of letters that Corky wasn't really aware of, that he'd written to his mom between the years 1963 and 1997. And there were hundreds of the letters and then postcards and stuff. And then we got, okay, now we have a really unique angle for the book, because as far as I know, no rocker has ever included letters to his mother on his autobiography. So that sort of set the tone of the book. We've been working on it, but I think we had about 100 pages already there. But then we started balancing with, there are some stories for which there are no letters, then there are many of the stories overlap with the letters, so the letters give you an insight from that particular era into the stories. And I don't know, then we just worked on it for years and years, because we have been, like Corky was saying, we're busy on the road, we have many other projects that we do together, so this has been a piecemeal deal. Beginning 2013, I think, January.
Yeah, the letters, I'm sorry to interrupt, the letters are a catalyst. The letters have like a timeline, because they're all dated. and time over from 1963 right up until the 90s. So it gave like a timeline to go with. So it's already, the memoirs are already dated according to the letters. And she abbreviated the letters to go along with, okay, you were here, I was there. I'm telling my mother about this. And that was my way of staying in touch with my family. I have a big family, and when you're out on the road, especially in some of the local gigs that you have in Quebec, some of them are pretty funky. So it was it was lonely out there. So I would go back to the motel and I'd be just write to my mother. I was a mama's boy, is what I was, you know, and I am proud. I don't mind that. If you notice in sports, you notice when they win, they always go, Mom, we're number one. It's not Dad, we're number one. Mom, we're number one. So that was a big deal in terms of keeping in touch with my family.
Yeah, there would be a lot of discussion of your childhood as well, but as our time is running, I'm just going to ask you one question.
Go ahead.
Like a person who didn't read the book yet, I have read it, but as a Canadian, did you, and now being in Finland, did you ever hold an ice hockey stick in your hand?
I have my skates outside. You know what, I was surprised when I first came here. I didn't realize that, because in Montreal they have a lot of outdoor skating rinks, a lot, you know, because they couldn't afford to cover the skate. Now it's different, but I would skate every single day. Oh, my brothers, I have triplet brothers.
Yes.
They're older than me, and they were terrific players. I mean, they were almost professional hockey players, except my mother just didn't feel that they paid the hockey players enough. You know, you had John Beliveau, and you had those, they were only getting like $5,000 a year. They weren't getting $5 million. So my mother says, I don't know, I maybe want to sort of not go into hockey. And of course, you know, it's a battle on the rink. I love hockey, and I watch it, and I noticed a lot of people here love hockey. You know, I tell you the story in Prague, but that's a long story. Go ahead. Yes. Yes.
That's something that touches the Finnish people for sure, especially when the first Finnish NHL captain Saku Koivu used to play in Montreal Canadiens.
That's right.
That's a
right.
big thing for us.
Well, we're watching the hockey on television. Tuija said, "See, he's Finnish, he's Swedish. No, Swedish. He's Norwegian. No." You know? Anyway, so yes, we're aware of that, and it's very competitive in Canada. You know, there's a lot of European players that are much better than a lot of Canadian. I mean, Wayne Gretzky set the tone in Canada, but we could talk hockey all night if you really wanted to. You know?
Yeah.
We'll go on.
There's a program number 3. The second is for the real estate, and then
That's
I.
it. You're right.
One
I'm
more.
telling you, real estate, a lot of musicians do. If you have money,
Yeah.
it's a good investment. We'll talk about that later.
Sure.
Okay, I'll take commission. Okay.
So, some music
Yeah.
meanwhile, and of course, you're so well known about mountain things and West Coast and Lang, but you have done solo records, and I would be proud to present some of those. And,
Yes, go ahead. Yes, it'd be my
there's
pleasure.
a
Yes.
song called Turn Me Over now, and would you like to say a few words about that?
Well, I could talk a lot about that, actually. What happened is when we recorded in West Bruce and Lang, we had to record really quickly because they had already booked tours. There was managers were already getting fired up, and so we had to make a lot of. Anyway, so Jack and Leslie are two of the best rock singers, I think, personally, around. And I'm sorry Jack's not around anymore, but brilliant singers. So here I am there sitting on the drums, and I think they felt sorry for me. They went, poor Corky is the drummer. What are we gonna do? Corky, can you sing something? I said, well, I got a dirty song about, sex. And they went, okay, do it. Anyway, so Jack picked up his harmonica, and he does that really fast. And he's brilliant on the harmonica. So he just picked up the harmonica, and Leslie started doing some slide guitar, and I was playing. I played a little guitar, really simple guitar, and I started playing, and I just said, "Turn me out," and just silly stuff. But they liked it because it was a different kind of song. It wasn't a heavy song. It was a fun song, Turn me over. It's like in the music business, everything's turning over quickly. And of course, there's a sexual entente, but I won't get into that. So it was fun. They made it. It was kind of like a gift. Corky, you sing now, And I felt pretty self-conscious when you put Leslie's voice, and you got the voice, and you got Jack singing, and there I come in, and I have no idea what I'm going to do. But I did it, and it was fun, and they put it on the record, and I think some people like it. So it's basically just harmonica, slide guitar, and little brushes on the drums. That's it.
Okay, turn me over from year 1972, I guess.
Yeah, it goes back. Yeah, I was telling you, Jack is playing the stand-up bass because he plays
Oh,
that.
yes.
So it's kind of a jazz thing to it, you know. And it's not that bad.
No.
It's pretty cool. Do you like that song?
It's
Pretty cool. Yeah, it's got very different.
Must have been new to our listeners for some of them. At least.
Well,
I'm
good.
happy
Yeah,
to-
I'm thrilled. You know, it's kind of like, it's
Yeah.
really wonderful. You're very kind to play that. And
Yeah,
I think maybe I'm going to charge more money. Yeah, go ahead.
always try to find something else than just the list.
Well, keeping in mind in those days, I mean, we were a power trio, so that song was very different, you know, in terms of a record. And the dynamics, the difference between some of the songs work for a record, for an album like that, because there's a lot of music in Jack Bruce, and there's a lot of music in Leslie. So, you know what I mean? There's a lot of music trying to get contained on one
Yeah.
record. And very proud of that record. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, back to Montreal for a little while.
we're going back to
Not a
Canada.
childhood, but
Okay.
about the book I read, it was quite an interesting place to live as a young starting musician, as the British invasion was about to enter the United States and Canada.
Yeah.
And a lot of those big bands before you and your band came to Montreal, and you were lucky to meet these certain guys, which became your friends.
You're talking about the British invasion, right? Well, yeah, that was the mid-60s, where because a lot of the English bands they wanted to come to America. But Canada's part of America. But they had to come through Montreal to get their visas, the same way the working visa. So they had to stay in Montreal for a night or two. Usually they played a show there. They set up a show there at the Forum, the Montreal Forum, a very famous hockey rink. So what happened, our manager in Montreal also booked the Forum. So we had our manager, we were the local band. In Canada, when you have a show or your record being played, you have to have Canadian involvement. So he had to put Canadian artists on the shows. So we were the Canadian local band to go on these shows. So we opened at the Forum for The Who, for Jimi Hendrix, for Cream, Hermits. The Beatles, we didn't open for them. They didn't need an opener. And what I'm saying is it was a very fortunate thing to have that go on. We were for about a year and a half, they would come, and we became popular with, you know, in Montreal, needless to say. But we also got a chance to meet the rock and roll heroes before they were heroes. So like I was hanging with Eric Clapton and stuff. It was no big deal because he wasn't, you know, he wasn't God yet. And Hendrix just walking around Montreal, checking a hotel, it was a wonderful time because it had yet to break. You know, Hendrix was just releasing Axis Bold as Love. And so it was a lot of action musically going on. And in Canada, there was an expression, you can't make it in Canada, you have to go to the States. All the bands, Bachman Turner Overdrive, Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, they had to go to the States to become big stars, if I put it that way. So that was an incentive, you know, to go to the States. But in this case, like you said, here the heroes came to Montreal. And Montreal was a French-Canadian town, so it was divided. You know, you had the French and you had the English, Anglo, and it was challenging because the French really wanted to step it up, and they wanted Quebec to be separate from Canada. A whole political thing, it's a whole different thing. But the point is, musically, it was challenging because they had Robert Charlebois, who was like the Bob Dylan of Canada. But he was French, but he was great. But you know, you can't take Charlebois into the States, they don't get it. So again, I say this in the book, I was very lucky. A lot of what happens in the music business is luck, you know, but you still have to practice, you know, you have to know what you're doing. But yeah, very lucky too, there's a word called propitious. It's like everything comes together beautifully. And that was 68, 69, 70, it was a wonderful time. Keeping in mind that rock was coming up. So were drummers, because they had discovered the electric bass. And as soon as the bass player could play loud, then the drummer could play louder. You know what I mean? All of a sudden you have heavy rock. So, again, timing is everything.
Yeah, there are lots of interesting little stories in the book, and I will leave it to the readers. But there's one thing I would like to you to tell in the show. How did you become a friend with Keith Moon?
Oh, Keith, you want me to tell a story? I mean, okay, Keith to me, where do I start, Tuij? Where do I start with Keith Moon? He came to who? The jacket, of course. Thank you. I need direction here. What happened is we opened for the Who. And the Who, this was at a time where they were blowing up the stage and breaking up stuff. Nobody understood it. You know, I mean, it was new. You know, what do you call it? They smashing the guitars and the drum. They loved that, to destroy stuff at the end of the show. This particular show, we finished playing, and I was watching him, and I love watching Keith Moon. To me, he's like a whole amusement park. He doesn't have to even stand up. He's a big favorite. He's a showman. He's like the Gene Krupa of rock, you know. He came up. Anyways, so again, after the show, the place was in chaos. And I went back under the stage to get my drum set. You know, it was all stored. And I see Keith Moon was wearing, what was it called, the jacket?
Union Jack.
The Union Jack. They were promoting UK. And I see this jacket there, and I guess Keith had thrown it off while he was breaking up the kit. So I pick up the jacket, and I look at it, I go, wow, yeah, it's beautiful. It's all, what do you call that stuff?
Sequence.
The stars and all the stuff, the glass on it. What do they call that?
Glitter. Glitter.
Yeah, that's right. Anyways, it was a beautiful jacket. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. But I look at, and I said, wow, this is going to fit me, because so I put the jacket under my winter coat, and I went back to the dressing room, and I said to the guys in my band, I went, look at it, I got Keith Moon's jacket. And they go, what do you mean? He said, well, he threw it away. I figured he didn't want it. Right next door in the other room, in the locker room, because it was a hockey rink, I hear screaming going, I get my jacket, I'm going to get my jacket. Screaming, I hear it. It sounds like Keith's, I got to go back to the stage. I've got to, and of course, security are holding him back. Now at this point, he has no clothes on because he's stripped down, so he's coming down the hallway, screaming, I'm going to get me jacket, me grandma. His grandmother made the jacket for the tour. You know, I see him walking down the aisle there, and I say, Keith, he says, no autographs now, I'm going to get me jacket, me grandma made me jacket. He's screaming at me, and I said, Keith, and he looked, I said, I pull out the jacket, and he looks at me with his eyes out of his head, wearing no clothes at all except for underwear, and I figure he's going to kill me. You know, he's coming at me, I'm sure. And he grabs me by the collar, and he looks me right up in my face. He says, you got it, mate. You've got me, jacket. I can't believe you got me. Me grandma made and the whole thing, and he gives me a big kiss right on the lips, very wet. And I'm going, whoa, I guess he likes me. Anyway, so he said, I'll never forget you, mate. I'll never forget you. Anyways, he's walking out, and as he's walking out, I guess like some sort of Canadian guilt. And I said, Keith, I was going to steal it, you know? And I'm saying, what the hell did I say that for? He turns around again with his eyes wide open. He comes after me right up and grabs me by the collar. He says, but you didn't, mate, did you? You didn't steal it. I love you even more. And gives me another kiss right on we have a relationship going on now. Another kiss on and he says, I'll never forget you. Now, fast forward, when Mountain was over in England, a couple of years, fast forward, we're over there, and we have the same management as in UK as the Who. It was Track Records, actually. And what happened is we all sort of crossed paths in the office, and Keith came up to me, he says, you had me jacket. I mean, he remembered. And I went, he says, you don't understand. If I would have lost that jacket, my grandmother would have killed me, you know. And I say it's fine. Anyway, so we started hanging out. And then he says, I must have you and Jack and Leslie over for dinner. He says, I'm going to send a car. This is like 1971. And we're in London, waiting at the hotel, and we're all thinking, well, I wonder what kind of car Keith Moon's going to send, you know. He sends us a Mini Cooper, You know what a Mini Cooper? It's the smallest car you get. Leslie's like 350 pounds himself, and we're all looking at this Mini Cooper. We said, well, we can't hire any, but we don't even know where he lives. He sent a driver. So I don't know how he did it, but we squeezed into that Mini Cooper, and we're like 2 hours, like squashed in, driving out to some countryside, and we pull up, and there's this great big hydroplane, you know, the big thing that goes, and he pulls up, he says, hey matey, how you doing? He says, I would have sent you the rolls, but it's in the pool. You know, it's in the pool. And we're going, Keith. Anyway, so we had a wonderful evening there at his house, and all he played was the Beach Boys. He loved the Beach Boys. So it was kind of, you know, very psychedelic, beautiful big house, and he's just a sweet guy, and we're just, you know, he likes to party. He likes to party, so we got into it. And from then on, we sort of, I would say, kept in touch. I don't know about best friends, but we kept in touch, and he turned me on to his drum company. He had Premier Drums. So between the drumming and then I remember he came to New York, and they played Madison Square Garden. They played 4 nights in a row, and each night, each of the members would have a button. It would be Peter Townsend night. It would be Roger. You know, each of the night they packed out every night, sold out Madison. And he invited me to this after party, you know. And before he did that, though, he at the show he says, "You got to come to my show, to his night." And I said, "Yeah." So somehow I ended up backstage, not just backstage, on the stage at Madison Square Garden. He's sitting up there in, you know, on the pedestal, whatever, and I'm sitting literally right behind the amp. Peter Townsend, he puts me there with a tablecloth, you know, a little wine. He sets me up. That was really nice of him to do that. I didn't expect any of that. You understand? I was humbled. I was humbled, and he kept on looking around at me. You're doing all right, mate. It's going like he had his headphones. And I'm sitting there going, wow. I mean, it was wild. And yeah, I'm trying to think of what happened after. What's that? Am I going on a bit? Okay, I'm going to start taking up too much time. Anyway, so that's, no, the point is that it was an era. It was a time and place where, you know, what can I say? I was very lucky to do that. And afterwards, I got off stage, and I said, you know, Keith, I had an opportunity to watch everything you do. He said, he said, don't ask me. He says, I don't know what the fuck I do. He said, don't even ask me any, he says, don't ask me any questions. And I went, okay, because he doesn't really know what he does according to him. But I watched everything he did. I couldn't do any of that. The way he plays, it's just not typical of any kind of drum technique. It's totally another world. So that's all I can say right now about Keith. Again, I could go on, right, Tuij? Do you want to come in any time? All right. That's the Keith music.
Okay. One more thing of the past, and then we go to what's going to happen tomorrow. But
Okay.
about Nantucket, you
Yes.
spent a lot of time, precious time in the early career.
Not real estate. I did. It was the best investment. Timo, it was the best investment. I had money. I bought this little shack and then near the beach. And yeah, I mean, it was beautiful. The ocean, you know, Nantucket is a sand dune. But what else do you want to know about Nantucket? Because I did.
About did you progress in your profession while they are playing long several weeks and
Well, what happened in those days, quickly, is you did tours. You go out for a month, and then you had a month off. Especially the British invasion, like the Who, they would go and they do 6 weeks, and they go home for 6 months. And they don't know what to do with themselves at home. In my case, I was in Nantucket. I didn't have to be in the city. I wasn't playing until we went to California. So I would live in Nantucket, and it was a beautiful place. I had a couple horses, and we used to ride on the beach, and we'd look like a tampon commercial, you know. My wife would, it's a joke. Anyways, yeah, I don't know what else to say about Nantucket, except that
was
I
it
wrote.
the place where you met Leslie West for the first time? Or was
Okay,
it somewhere else?
that was a beautiful beach place, but that was in Long Island, New York. Long Island is an island that goes way out on the ocean. And that's where I met Leslie, the summer of 67, 68. He was in a band called the Vagrants, so that's when I first met him. And at that time, they were trying to get out of the draft. So our band was hired because we were very neat. We looked like Robin Hood. We had our Robin Hood outfits out. And the Vagrants were like a nasty bunch of guys, you know, tough guys, fine, but they were all trying to get out of the draft. So when I met Leslie, he had lipstick on, he was dressed, he was dressed as a woman because he had to go in there pretending he was crazy, you know, and all drugged out and going, and he got out of the draft. But that was an era where a lot of things were going on with teenagers my age, you know, and that's when I met Leslie. And at the time, we were doing cover records. We were doing, songs on the Procol Harum and all those songs. We were doing those kind of songs. The Vagrants were doing original stuff, which were really good. But the Vagrants were produced by Felix Pappalardi, and the band that I was in at the time was being produced by Felix Pappalardi, just coincidental. And that's how we met. We knew each other from that era. And I don't know what else to say about Nantucket, but
how did the Mountain second album got that name?
Oh, because we were in Hyannis, which is a small town on the mainland, and we played a big show there, and we had 2 days off, and I invited Felix to come to Nantucket because I had rented a place there, and Felix said, I don't know, so he came, and he woke up, like, you know, we took a private plane there, and wake up in the morning on the ocean, you know, like, it's like, here we go from playing a big show and nothing, and apparently he fell in love with Nantucket like that, and he had a lot of money. So he says, I think I'm going to buy myself a shack here. So I think he thought he was going to spend a couple $100 on those, hundreds of thousands of dollars, because Nantucket is a beautiful place, but it's expensive, or it was. So he bought a beautiful place there, and he started getting into the whaling industry. There's a museum there. It was quite historical. A lot of history there that Felix started. He started buying all these, tusks and fish and, all these, I'm trying to remember the name. The point is he would invest a lot of time and energy into the history of Nantucket. And he loved the story about these whalers that go out and they get lost at sea. And there's a movie about it that just came out a couple of years ago where somebody had to give up their life so the men could eat. So somebody gave up their life so the other crew would be able to live. I think his name is on the album. It's a dedication to him. It was quite a story, and we put together the idea. This is important, is that metaphorically, symbolically, when you're in rock and roll in those days, you would go out into the world promoting, and you didn't know. It was crazy at the time, it wasn't organized. You had promotion, you had TV, you had writers, but it was all scattered. You didn't know where you were going the next day. Like Jimi Hendrix was playing with the Monkees, that's how crazy it was, right? So in those days, the late 60s, so on a metaphor level, like these whalers going out to the ocean to go for the big whale, they want to get Moby Dick. It was the same thing musicians and artists were going for the big hit record. So basically you threw your fate to the wind when you're going on the road promoting. I think Joni Mitchell called it the big greedy machine or something. The music business would take you out there. And a lot of brothers and sisters in music never made it back. They go out there, whatever, and they would meet their destiny one way or another. And so Nantucket Sleigh Ride, that ride that you take out into the ocean, that the crew would row out, and these waves would take the ships, and it was the same kind of craziness, the waves of the music business. And I believe that's how we put that. And that was when Mountain was doing heavy touring. We're doing a couple of 100 shows a year all over the world. Really, you never know. You got on the plane, you read the first part. We crashed. What I'm saying is you never know if you're going to make it back alive. The same way as these whalers never knew that they were going to get back alive. There's a lot of stories about that, especially on the East Coast. Whaling was a big deal. The music industry, whaling. It's crazy. That's the story of Nantucket Sleigh Ride.
Thank you.
Okay.
So you need to go for the next show, but something is happening this week in Porvoo.
Yes, we're playing a
Could
show. Tuija's going to tell you about that. Go ahead, Tuija. Go ahead.
It's going to be an evening of music celebrating, the book Letters to Sarah. There'll be a panel discussion led by Jussi Niemi from Soundi magazine. and other musicians in the panel talking about life in music and about Corky's life. Then Corky will join local musicians for a number of songs and play, I would assume, the most wanted hits or a few of them. And then the late night will be taken over by Faust Burger, who's going to provide the music for the late evening. But it should be a really
So,
very nice show.
Yeah, it's like it's a party. It's a big event that they're putting together, and it's around the music industry, and I take what I can bring to the table. You know, I'm very proud to be alive and to be able to tell the stories. You know, and it's lovely. Tula, a wonderful promoter, business friend. She puts it together. She's very dedicated to the art industry, the arts in Helsinki and in Finland. So she's been a big supporter. So it's been wonderful, and Tuija's good friends. So it's going to be a big party there. I think you want to come. If you're hearing this, you may want to come out for the night. I'll buy you a beer, or 2 or 3. But yeah, it's going to be. It's just a wonderful gathering of musicians, and it's great that they're treating the book with respect, and I'm very happy that you seem to like it. And that's very kind. I know it's not just because I'm sitting here, you're saying nice things. You do like it, because you know I would beat you up if you didn't.
Just on a practical level, people in Helsinki area listening, buses from Kamppi go directly to the front of the Grand Theatre where this takes place. So if you take omnibus, it costs you like €1 or €2, and you get there in 40 minutes. If you take a regular bus, it might cost you €7. But from Kamppi bus station, the buses they stop directly in front of the venue, so it won't be a big deal for anyone coming. And there are buses coming back later after the show as well.
And the program will take more or less from 7 o'clock until midnight or so.
Yeah, until...
So besides Corky, there are lots of other acts as
yes,
well.
Yes.
I'll probably do a little talking, you think?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Of
no.
course, yeah.
Okay. No, it's great. I mean, and yeah, I hope the people that buy the book, I hope they buy the book, but if they do, online, I'd like to know what they think, you know, because we have Facebook and stuff. So again, it's nice to get the give and take of the copy in the book, to see what people think. You know, it's pretty much the first book that we wrote. It is the first book we wrote together. So I'll leave you with that, and I want to thank you, Timo, and all your crew here. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
know, and if I talk too much, it's too bad. It's just I like to talk.
No, that's what people love. That's what we are here for.
Okay.
So
Thank you again. Yeah, Kitosh.
So for the next song, before you go, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. What is which song?
It's On My Way.
On my way to Georgia, I recorded my solo record at Capricorn Studios in Georgia, and they just opened up. But again, in capsule form, the South. Capricorn is a lot of Southern bands. Allman Brothers, Leonard Skinner, and I was the first artist from up north in Montreal, Canada, to go to Capricorn, and they treated me beautifully. So I had a lot of help from different musicians there. John Sandlin, the man that produced all the Allman Brothers songs, records, most of them, produced my record. And he brought in some great people. Dickie Betts came into play, and Eric Clapton came. He was playing in Atlanta. He came over and played, and it was a beautiful session over that goes back to 1975, 76, right, too?
Yeah, the album came out 77, so 76.
Yeah.
But the Capricorn in the South, it was because a lot of Southern musicians, it gave me a bit of a vibe, because here I am from Montreal. So when I went there, we used Otis Redding's brass section, the Barquets, and yeah, I don't know what to say about that, but it was my first record, and it was very challenging, and I did the best I could, you know. And what else could I say to each other? That's it, right? Okay.
Let the song tell the rest.
It's a story. It is a story.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Timo.
Thank you, Corky. Thank you, Tuija.
Thank you, our pleasure.
Hope to see you in Porvoo.
Yeah, that'd be great. Come on, please. Come on out tomorrow. Okay?
On my way to Georgia now.